Moving on now to our next session. There are a number of reports that state that India's luxury sector is booming. There's a report by Bain & Company that says that India's luxury market is expected to grow 3.5 times to touch $200 billion by 2030. A Credit Suisse report states that by 2026, the number of millionaires in India will grow by 105%. From gadgets to lifestyle products, from holiday destinations to gourmet food and luxury real estate to luxury cars, a number of luxury industries are seeing high growth. Well, our next session is aimed to dissect the story behind this growth. What is driving Indians to splurge? What is the next big luxury must-have? And what does it mean for the overall economy of the country? So please welcome on stage the MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz India, Mr. Santosh Iyer, who will be in conversation with my colleague Aisha Paridi.
Hi everyone. So let's start with a question for them before you, Santosh. How many of you have a Mercedes car here? Okay, and how many of you want to own a Mercedes car? I'm sure it's the entire group here. So Santosh, many questions for you. What is it about a Mercedes car? You know, when we talk about Indian aspiration, it's everyone's dream, including mine, to own a Mercedes.
Well, the
what does the brand mean for and stand for?
You know, we have a strong legacy. We invented the car now 138 years back, and ever since then we have been reinventing the cars. And we have all grown up with an aspiration with the three-pointed star. They say it's the world's most recognized symbol, you know, after certain religious symbols as such. So that has a different aura in different parts of India. Also, if I come from the southern part, it's fondly referred as the Benz. In the other parts, in the north, Merc. So, you know, and that actually shows the desirability of the brand, and it cuts across generations, cuts across, I would say, different cultures, and we are quite happy and proud to maintain that. And so the responsibility is huge on us to represent this brand and to take care of it, to keep its stars shining.
Absolutely. But you know, Santosh, it's interesting because autos, and especially luxury cars, is such an evolving market in today's day and age. You know, cars are no more mobility that I need to go from, you know, Taj to Lajpat Nagar to South Extension or whatever. It's really about experience. It's about comfort. It's about, you know, calling it a home while you're on the roads. And now it's about cars with computers on them. What are we looking at when we're staring, say, 5 to 10 years down the line? What kind of cars would we have on the roads?
Well, as you rightly said, I can quote Coco Chanel here. You know, there's a quote saying that luxury starts where necessity ends. So Mercedes-Benz actually being a luxury brand definitely is beyond a car, beyond a mobility there. So at the same time, the product has so many innovations, and we are very proud to say that many of the innovations that you see in today's cars, in some way or the other, we have been able to contribute, you know, to those innovations. And that leads us to the future. The future for sure, as far as we are concerned, is 100% electric. We have said that we will transition to be a 100% electric company by 2030. In India, 25% of our sales we expect to be electric in the next 4 years' time. So we are fully committed to this path. The next big trend is autonomous. We are the only brand in the world to be connected level 3 autonomous certified. We got the certification in US. So now a lot of people ask whether in India autonomous cars will work, the traffic conditions, the road conditions. But I still feel there are many features of an autonomous car. We call it advanced driving assistance features.
You mean driverless cars?
Yeah. It will not be completely driverless, but you know, a lot of features related to safety, active braking assist, to many things will show its way to India. And the third big pillar and trend, if you say what will cars look like, is connectivity. Today we have more than 70,000 connected cars in India. When I say connectivity, the cars can talk to the consumer via mobile phone. The cars can send out an SOS from itself without even a phone. You can communicate with the customer support.
Which most new cars already have.
Yeah. And the third is car-to-car communication. So I'll give an example. We recently launched the EQS. This can communicate with another S-Class if there is a pothole or a bump, and via cloud, so if another customer of an S-Class is going on the same road, he already gets an alert, hey, watch a speed bump, the suspensions get adjusted and the car is ready for the speed bump.
Wow.
So that's the next level of technology.
That's AI in application right here.
Yes, yes.
Okay. You know, the other thing I also wanted to ask is, why are Mercedes cars so expensive? Most of us would want to own one.
You know,
they're just horribly expensive.
You know,
What makes them bad?
innovation comes at a cost because we have to, and so many years back, again I go back to history because you know there were two approaches. One, you mass produce cars and make them cheaper, and our friends in the US, they took that route. You know, Ford went into mass production of cars, and Mercedes-Benz took a different route. We said we will make cars faster, so we were on the racetrack. We will make the cars better, so we were on innovation. We will make the cars safer, so we went into the 3-point seat belt, to many inventions and airbags and many stuff there. So our philosophy is to invest more on innovation, more on luxury, more on exclusiveness, and therefore they are expensive because all this costs money to develop. If you look at our balance sheets, it's not that we are making all that money, but it goes back into the product to a large extent.
You know, since we're talking about expense, and I definitely want to draw light here, till I think about 3 years back, we never even heard of semiconductor chips, right? I mean, as per my understanding, it's a 3,000 rupee chip which had created ruckus in the auto industry and other gadgets as well across the world. Now in nearly every conversation that you have with any auto player, it's all about semis. Tell me, what happens when it comes to Mercedes? How many chips are required in a basic Mercedes S or E class? I'm not even talking about Maybach here. And does that also add to the expense? Purely the availability of the supply chain, disruption as well, which is still currently at play.
So, if I look at an S-Class, the amount of cameras, sensors, and of course the head unit displays to many other areas, the amount of sensor-related requirements also makes the requirement for chips goes up substantially. So, it's not about the hardware. Frankly, the challenge is about software. And we need today a lot of computing power in the car to deploy features that I just mentioned. So to get this computing power, one is, of course, there is a shortage of chips. We are trying to mitigate it. We have come a long way, and our supply chain colleagues have really done a good job to mitigate it. But our clear focus is cars will be more software driven. We have already announced partnership with NVIDIA for chips, as well as on the software side, we have partners, Google, for example, with Maps, and we are creating our own operating system. Because what we feel is the cars of tomorrow will be differentiated by software, not by hardware. And therefore, it's so important to have our own operating system. So you will see an MB-OS for cars starting 2026, which will be so unique, so proprietary.
What is that?
So if you buy today an Android and an Apple, the differentiator is software, right? More than the hardware. You can argue the cameras and stuff, but the iOS experience. And similarly, even in cars with a Mercedes-Benz operating system, when you get into the car, the interactivity that you can have with the car, the way you can, even a normal Google map will look very different in a Mercedes-Benz car compared to any other platform. So we are working with partners, we are working with our own operating systems, building up the tech stack, of course with an eye on hardware, because you need computing power in the car and you need excess computing power in the car. And let me give an example. We have all cars now with over-the-air updates, which means the car that you buy today, you will get more features in next 3 years because of OTA updates. Now to deliver more OTA updates, you need computing power. You need to ensure the cars have enough hard disk, enough space, and therefore this will be taken care by our engineers, but the clear game will be on how good your software will be in the future.
So is that what is leading to the dollar component or content in your semis expense? Because as I understand, for lower end vehicles, it's about a few $100s, but for you it runs into 4 figures.
Not really. I would say, the material cost is not what is driving up cost for luxury cars, and more so for Mercedes-Benz. As I said, the materials used in the car, one is the recyclable materials.
I'm talking about semiconductor chips.
Semiconductor, of course, we are much more than the mass market cars. There is no doubt about that. But that would lead into a cost delta, not to the Today we are, on an average, we are 3 times expensive to a mass market car on an average. But the chips would only cost much lower component. But it's the seats, for example. It's the overall materials that's used. The recyclable materials that we are using in the cars. So all this adds to the cost, and therefore luxury cars becomes a bit more expensive.
You know, just an observation, for decades, many auto companies have had to tweak and adapt themselves to suit the Indian roads and the Indian consumers. When it comes to Mercedes, you know, when you look at Maybachs, E-Class, S-Class, the experience is pretty much, you know, the same across the world. How is it that you've managed to do that? And why does the Indian customer not need any customization when it comes to Merc?
No, I will give some examples. The E-Class, for example, that we sell in India is a long wheelbase E-Class. It is custom. India is the only market with a right-hand drive long wheelbase E-Class in the world. So we have taken a big step in customizing it. We localized the EQS, the first EV in India. Last year, Honorable Minister Gadkari ji, he actually was kind enough to come and roll out the first car in India as such from a luxury car portfolio. Similarly, when it comes to now even apps or, you know, I mentioned about connectivity, and you said all cars in India have it. But our SOS button works on a 2G light mode, which means even in remote areas where connectivity is bad, a customer, if he is affected, the SOS button should help. He should be able to call for help. So we have tried to look at India-based conditions and try to see how we can adapt. And there are small such subtle changes that we do for India. And more than that, I can also say, I am quite proud to say this, that we have more than around 10,000 people working in Bangalore. We have our sister concern, which is the Mercedes-Benz Research and Development Center. And any Mercedes in the world has something out of India, because there is a lot of software work, as I mentioned, the MBOS to many other, everything happens out of Bangalore, and we contribute to the global R&D in a significant manner. So I am proud to say that every Mercedes across the world has something from India in it.
That's great, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, talk about making in India, and here's Mercedes setting that example. You also have one of your oldest facilities in Pune, in Maharashtra. What I wanted to understand was, I believe it's 15 years old, that manufacturing facility?
So we started in 94, and from 94 to 2009, we were in one facility in Pune. Since 2009, now we have a new, different facility where we have moved out, and we are now continuing to operate there.
What are the learnings, since you've been in the Indian market and manufacturing here for so long, that you have imbibed from global companies across the board? And what are the learnings that you would want to take from your Indian manufacturing setup onto, you know, pass it on to the rest of the world?
So one, I would say from an ease of doing business, you know, there has been a lot, and many of the times my colleagues also back from headquarters keep asking me about what happens in India. And I would say that if you do a compliant business, as a brand, you are able to easily do compliant business in India. We have an MOU with the state government. We have been getting our incentives on time. We have been able to take care of all local topics on a completely compliant manner, and we take a lot of pride in that, actually. So that's, I think it's all possible even in India. It's up to the corporate governance standards that if you follow, if you maintain, you are able to do good business here. The other part is on the people side. We are proud again to say we have only internal unions. We have been a harmonious working culture, one of the lowest attrition in the industry. People work with us, and therefore, you know, if you work with people, including our partners, we have very low attrition as such. It shows that if the corporate culture is great, you can still do good quality business in India, irrespective of the business climate and environment around us. We have been 28 plus years here, been one of the longest players. We believe in India's story. That's why we have that strategic patience, and we are continuing to do business here.
And that's why your business is growing here.
Thanks.
But tell me, I definitely want to talk about your EV strategy. You know, as you were telling me before the panel, that it's pretty much 50-50 your portfolio. Not many people here know that, because, you know, for everyone, the brand recall of a Mercedes is a Maybach, S-Class, E-Class.
Yeah, 50-50 between the SUV and the sedans. When it comes to EVs, we have just introduced the new EVs last year. Right now, the share of EVs will be in the region of 3 to 5%. As I said, our aspiration is to be 25% in the next 3 to 4 years' time. But coming back to your question on
Isn't that your most expensive car, your EQS?
No, the EQS is not the most expensive. The Maybachs are the most expensive. They all go to 3.5, 4 crore territory as such. The EQS is around 1.6 crores.
When will that become more affordable?
Well, as I said, affordability and Mercedes don't go with each other as such. So I can only say that we are working hard to get the cars faster. Today, an average waiting time for a Mercedes-Benz is somewhere in the region of 2 to 3 months to 2 years. So we have cars where we have waiting periods like the G-Wagon, where customers are waiting for 2 years. The Maybachs are waiting for 9 to 12 months time. And then we have the E-Class and others for 3 to 4. So right now our focus is to reduce the waiting period and try to see how we can deliver more cars.
Any more EV launches in the pipeline?
Sure, if you want to meet this threshold, 25% in the next couple of months, years, we need to launch more cars. But what we thought is, let's first cater to the current demand. You know, the EQS we launched last year, we need to cater. There are a lot of customers who are waiting for the car. So for us, it's more important we start delivering before we start launching new cars and then keep the market waiting actually for some time.
Sure. You know, the other thing I also wanted to talk about, marketing luxury cars, you know, from traditional print and TV ads now onto digital. How is it that Mercedes, considering you're in the luxury segment, right? So marketing also must be very unique for Merc.
Yeah, sure. For us, marketing is all about customer experience. You know, the total luxury car market in India is around 37,000 cars. We are selling close to 17,000 cars. So we have close to 50% share in the luxury car segment. Yeah, we have to take care of customers. So I won't call it marketing, but it's more CRM. So a lot of customized events. We send customers to Formula 1 races. They go to drive on ice in Sweden, in the North Pole, or they do certain things in our factory in Pune. We also host them. We have the Mercedes Trophy, which is the most aspired corporate golfing tournament. So a lot of investments, I would say marketing investments goes into customer experience, then plain advertising as such, because they are matured customers. They know about the products. I get a ping moment there is a car launch any part of the world. You know, the moment there is a global reveal, we have customers asking, when do I get this car? So technically they know about the brand, they know about the product, they drive these cars. Many of them stay in London, US, and they have been driving these cars. So, but yes, what differentiates us is the experience we give them. What kind of, unique experiences, money can't buy experiences we can give them. So the marketing team invests a lot of time in those aspects than advertising.
Santosh, the world seems to be fascinated, or at least India seems to be fascinated by the whole trend of urban SUVs. How is it that you're going to try and cash in on that? Because when you speak with Tatas or when you speak with M&Ms, that is that one segment that they're targeting, and that's where the maximum number of launches they have in the offing.
We are fortunate enough, if you see our portfolio, we have around 14 odd cars and they are split between the sedans and the SUVs. So in a portfolio basis, we have an SUV in every segment, we have a sedan in every segment. And because of that, we see our mix also as 50% sedans, 50% SUV. The largest selling car in the luxury car segment is a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, which is a sedan. At the same time, we see a significant growth in terms of percentage in SUVs and mostly driven by the top-end SUV, which is the GLS and the GLE. So it's a very different consumer profile. People who have drivers many a times and they prefer SUVs as such, but people who love to drive themselves, they love the sedan still.
I have to ask you this, which car do you drive?
Oh, wow. So, when I got promoted to the MD and CEO of this company, S-Class for me was the car I aspired for, and I had to get it. So I got into the S-Class, but now I am waiting for my EQS. So next 2 months time, I am shifting to the EQS
1.6 crore car.
to shift, yes. So, so I would be shifting. I am also in the waiting list. So I would now, having done the S-Class tick box, I said now I need to get into the EQS.
Lucky. That's all I have to say. But thank you so much, Santosh, for taking time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer. Thank you, Aisha. I was hoping you would say something like you have the SLS AMG with the gull wings and something crazy like that. I was like, wow, that would be a cool car to drive. But thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you.